This is the T3 from Avolites, and it is the successor to their very popular Titan Mobile. This new console is particularly special to me because the Titan Mobile was the first console I bought when I started seriously getting into professional stage lighting. But before we go any further, some housekeeping. First, this video is not sponsored by Avolites. They did send me this console, but it belongs to Avo. They're loaning it to me. They even specifically asked not to be shown this video before I published it, so I did not show them. Second, my company, SLM Entertainment, is a dealer for Avolites, and I respect if, for you, that invalidates some of the things I'm gonna say about this console. I do wanna make the note that we became Avolites dealers after I started using Avolites, not before. I wanted to be a dealer because I used Avo and loved it. I don't use it because we're a dealer. In fact, we sell effectively every other brand of console as well, so if my basis for choosing a console revolved around whether or not we were a dealer, I could still basically choose any console brand. But yes, we are a dealer. If you want to take this video with a grain of salt for that reason, that's fair. And last of all, this video is not a review. I know it doesn't say it's a review in the title, but I just want to bring attention to that. I opened this console a few days ago. I'm sure I get the gist of what using this console would be like, but regardless, this video is first impressions only, and because I have been using a Titan Mobile for so long, I'm not able to have an impression as if I have never used an Avolites console, which may be the case for some of you watching. But because of this, I'm not surprised on first impressions by a variety of aspects of this console, like how many faders there are or the general button layout. So naturally, I don't really bring attention to the things that were obvious to me about the T3 in this video. Moving on, this video is an unboxing video. Well, you can see it's unboxed now, but me from the past has not yet unboxed this. Hello, it's me from the past, and I have not yet unboxed this. Obviously, at this point, you all know what this console looks like, and frankly, so do I. But neither you or I have experienced what it's like to open this console. So let's see how Avolites did with this. This is the wing, okay? This is the actual console. These boxes are nice. If this was like a professional unboxing channel, we would probably go with like the lesser product first, but it's not. So we're obviously gonna start with the product we care about the most, and that's the main console, not the wing. But we do have the wing as well. Oh, there's another box. That's a much nicer looking box. That's cool that it comes like in several boxes to keep it nice and protected. This is a very nice box. Wow, another box. I like how this is red. And we all know that the actual console is going to be blue, but it looks very nice. So props to that. This is great. Oh, and there's a case, right. I did know about this and I forgot about this. Yeah, so these come in a case, which is stinking great. Little cable here, and that's just C to C. That's cool. And a care guide. We're not going to look at that right now. This case is really cool. I actually want to go get the case my Titan Mobile came in. So I couldn't find the bag that my Titan Mobile came in, but that's okay. I wasn't using it. I probably gave it away. The reason I wasn't using it was because it was just kind of like a canvas messenger bag, which was a nice bag, but for me, it just kind of felt a little like not super protected, not super cushiony. So they started shipping these backpacks with it instead, but I didn't use this either. It is nicer, I think, than the messenger bag that I got, but this is not what we're talking about today, because now they come in this hard case. And this is so much better because with this, like, I would feel comfortable putting this as is, like in any backpack or any road case pretty much with some care. It's not like a Pelican hard case, but much better. It's got a little handle. This is awesome. Oh, very, very premium feeling. Wow, that is very thin. This is much, I was told it was thinner, and it is thinner than I thought. I mean, I've seen pictures. I'm sure everyone has seen this kind of picture where like, basically the thickness is like the thickness of these ports. But you don't realize exactly how thin that is, especially compared to the original Titan Mobile. And these feet are different. I use that feature a lot. I don't know about you guys or other Titan Mobile users, But the original Titan Mobile had a little bar for a foot here. This just had these pop-out feet. That seems to be a lot more normal. Like the old one had like this giant metal bar, which was cool, but this just seems totally good. And it's still a little bit of elevation, like nice rubber feet there. One thing I'm noticing about this case though is there's nowhere for like the cable to go at the same time, but I guess this would just go in whatever bag you're carrying it in. That's the thing, unboxed. Interesting, keys. Oh, these are the new keys, these are the D9 keys. I like these more personally than the really super clicky ones, but there's pros and cons. Oh, those are still clicky, that's interesting. Cool. So that's this guy. There it is, unboxed. We'll just take a look, you know, do the same kind of thing for the T3 wing. Yep. That's super nice the way this comes down. This is so easy to open. Like, I'm not much of an unboxing guy, to be honest, but I do really appreciate it when like you feel valued and it seems like they put attention into what it's like to open this, which is nice. Same case, so nice. And there's the T3 wing. And this is just like a nice new version. Also same thickness, same thinness. That is super nice. I'm looking at these and I'm wondering, just because of how thin they are, if they'll fit in my current Titan Mobile case. Both of them. They probably won't, but I gotta know. So I have my current Titan Mobile in this SKB case. Pretty much just like the Pelican that you see everyone carrying around, but it's SKB instead. I just like their latches and their wheels a little better. Console, laptop, some cables, chargers, 5 to 3-pin adapters, because a lot of places I go use 3-pin DMX. Yeah, you know, you just gotta work with it. Underneath this, we've got some like RNet adapters, USB-C adapters, stuff like that. But this feels very thick compared to these new consoles. So we're just gonna drop one of these guys in here. Okay, so the dimensions are basically the same, like left to right, and I've got some space here. I don't think I could drop them in both right now at this exact moment, but maybe with some modification, I could fit both the console and the wing in here, and that would be so nice. But we're not gonna play with that too much today. That's for another time. These new consoles don't come with a dust cover like the original one. That's them side by side. That's the old one and the new one. And they're so close in size. So much cleaner, this new one. Like there's no hash marks, there's no number marks. The font is much cleaner, of course. This is all backlit. These encoders. Those encoders are actually a little more resistive to movement, which I like. I always found that these are a little too loose. These just feel a little more precise. Thickness-wise, it's definitely thinner. There's no question there. Well, here it is, unboxed. Let's go back to current me for some more thoughts. I want to go over some more of my impressions of the T3, and as a longtime Titan Mobile user, the thing that I'll be able to do the best is compare it to the original Titan Mobile directly. I already talked a bit about the size and thickness, but I didn't really consider the weight. Obviously, we are all capable of looking at the numbers and seeing that it's the same footprint and thinner and lighter. But sometimes it's not easy to translate those numbers from abstract to a physical thing. Plus, we don't need a YouTube video to read specs. You guys can all do that. So, having both the consoles here, the improved thinness and the lighter weight really stand out. And it seems like this will definitely help the T3 perform one of its most important functions better than the Titan Mobile, which is to be mobile. It somehow feels as solid, maybe even more solid than the Titan Mobile, but lighter. Something else I forgot to mention, unrelated to the weight, it's still USB powered, just like the Titan Mobile was. So there's no power brick. This also serves to make the T3 super portable all around, better than the Titan Mobile, and that's great. Moving on from comparing the dimensions, there is one thing that is a full-blown addition to this console over the Titan Mobile, and that is the backlit keys. I carry a USB gooseneck LED in my Titan Mobile case, and this is kind of fine. It puts weird stress on the USB port of my laptop, and it always takes a bunch of fiddling to get it in just the right position. Clearly, backlit keys are way better. I wish that some of these were still an accent color, maybe like a gray. I Things like the locate button, the record button, these buttons near the encoders. But that's really nitpicking, and it does nothing to take away from how great these backlight keys are. I think the backlighting is the only thing that is completely new in terms of features. Everything else I think is just changed from the Titan Mobile. So let's talk about some of those things. I'm inevitably not going to be able to cover every little thing that has been changed. I've not had this console in front of me for very long. All these changes come with trade-offs, and one trade-off in particular I'm not real excited about. First, an LTC port has replaced the MIDI port. I never used the MIDI port. I did experiment with it once, but never actually implemented it into my workflow, so I don't think I'm gonna miss that. I also don't do too much timecode, to be honest. Really, I do a lot of busking and rehearsed Q2Q work. I know a lot of people that do a lot of timecode work though, and surely this is better to have than a MIDI port. For me, I might have rather seen an EtherCon port, but maybe there would have been some limitation with the USB power of the console. I also really would have loved to see another USB port, mainly for thumb drives. In a perfect scenario, there would be a second USB-C port and a USB-A port, so you could do current gen thumb drives, but also future USB-C thumb drives. And that second USB-C port would be a backup if this USB-C port got damaged. By the way, this port has a locking screw, which is super cool. I didn't even know those existed. The cable that came with this console didn't have a way to use that, but it's easy to buy a USB-C cable with a locking screw if you want one. Anyway, there'd be so many things that'd be nice about having some more auxiliary USB ports, but again, maybe that comes down to the fact that this console is USB powered, so that's okay. This next change is not about the hardware. It's a software change, and it's a downgrade, kind of. The T3 out of the box is limited to 16 universes. Now, officially, on the Titan Mobile, you were supposed to add TitanNet processors after 16 universes. So in that sense, nothing has changed. You can still add processors to the T3 to add more universes, but you were able to patch as many universes as your computer could handle with just the Titan Mobile. And you can't do that out of the box with the T3. I never went over 16. I didn't even come close. So this also doesn't really affect me, but some people have gone over 16 universes with a Titan Mobile without TitanNet processors. But like I said, you can still add TitanNet processors just like before, and you will be able to unlock 64 universes straight from the T3. No extra processors. It just requires an additional license purchase from Avo. So, with all that said, it's not really a hard downgrade because it's not a lock on 16 universes. You can still do more than 16 universes, even from the T3 by itself, if you really need to. But it's not as open as it was on the Titan Mobile, so technically it's a downgrade. Moving on, back to hardware again, this next change is also a downgrade over the Titan Mobile. It's clear to see the trade-off for why this was done, but it is the only objectively negative point of comparison for the hardware. And it's actually a big one for me. It's the color. I just love this original faded off-white. I'm kidding. I love the black. The whole aesthetic of the T3 is great. The thing that is actually a problem for me is that there are only 12 static playback buttons instead of 20. Now, this change was made with good reason, I will admit. Avolites, like any reputable lighting console brand, needs to stick to a cohesive programmer layout where you can walk up to any of their consoles and feel like they are all the same. The D9 is their flagship console and will be for some time. We can see loads of that design being applied here. And surely we can make the guess at this point that that general design is going to be applied throughout their console range. Compared to the original Titan Mobile, the programmer sections on newer Avo consoles, especially the D9, change some functions that used to be secondary and only accessible by holding the Avo key. Some of those functions are now primary with their own dedicated buttons. And I think there are even some brand new buttons on the D9. The T3 really should have all of the same programmer buttons as the D9. And it should be laid out in the most similar way possible. This is going to take up space for other things. I get that. But, and I don't know anything about PCB design or motherboard design or anything like that, but it feels like, at first impression, maybe some things could have been shifted around to make more space for more static playbacks. This Avo logo, it looks great, but it feels like a lot of space. Also, if you look at some of the spacing of these sections, I, just as much as the next guy, want a spacious console where I'm not worried about accidentally pressing the wrong thing. But at the same time, this console is really small and there is limited space. Some of these gaps are clearly the same width as the buttons, which makes a lot of aesthetic design sense. But some of the gaps are smaller, much smaller actually, especially this one. If all of these bigger gaps were smaller, and if this space for the logo was utilized, I can't help but wonder if some things could have been rearranged to allow for more things. I would have loved to have seen at least 15 static playbacks to match that section on the D9. But here we are. I know this rant I'm on might sound pretty negative, so I do want to clarify that from a programmer layout perspective, this console seems massively better than the Titan Mobile. It's like not even close. And I have done shows where 12 static playbacks is plenty, and it's still in line with, or even more than many options from other brands. I have just gotten so used to having 20 that I'm bummed about having 12. And this is what would take the most getting used to for me. I have a variety of ideas of things and changes to my workflow to accommodate this reduction, and I could maybe even make a video about how I would work with this, so that could be interesting at least. But enough about that. Let's talk about something else that a lot of people will probably be bummed about, even though it's not a downgrade or a change at all from the Titan Mobile. And that is the lack of motorized faders. I was hoping for them too. I'm not that bummed about this. I personally am very comfortable with soft takeover and changing pages. Plus, this totally would have needed an AC power supply for motor faders, which I think would be annoying and go against the goal of super portability. But yeah, everyone was hoping for them. They're not here. They did split up these buttons from here. There's now one on top and the bottom instead of the both being on top. So maybe you'll like that more. I don't have a strong feeling about this button split, but we'll see. Anyway, the absence of motor faders, along with all the other design choices and the 16 universe soft limit, all come with a collective benefit: price. Now, I'm in the United States, so I only have information about US pricing. Sorry. The Titan Mobile, before it was discontinued, was selling for $5,000. The T3, at the time of filming this, is selling at $4,000. That's a pretty solid reduction. Plus, again, it comes with this case. The T3 wing is the same price as the Titan Fader wing was at $3,000 retail. If you get both the T3 and the T3 wing as a combo, it saves you $100. So $6,900 for the set. And again, this is all the time filming this. With that pricing in mind, which I think is pretty good on its own, you can weigh the features and changes of this console a few ways. If you're just buying the T3, it's $1,000 cheaper than the Titan Mobile was. So you can put that money towards other things that make your life as an LD better. If you're buying the T3 and T3 wing, you're only paying $1,900 more than the original Titan Mobile costed alone. But you're gaining 20 faders and 30 static playbacks. So if you're like me, that's a really solid option to make up for going from 20 to 12 on the T3, especially if you can happily fit both of these consoles into your bag or case that you use for transport. One of the reasons I never jumped on the original fader wing after all this time was because, personally, I never wanted to put both the Titan Mobile and a fader wing, in my case, together, even though I know some people did do that with their Pelicans. But now, I really want to do that with the T3 and wing. So as long as you have space where you're setting up your console at your gig, this seems like a really solid move, especially for the price. Not to mention the comparison against other brands. For 30 playback faders, and 42 playback buttons at this size and this price, and if you factor in the quality of the hardware, 16 universes, the timecode port, and the software features, if you like Titan, that is, I do. This looks super competitive, and I think it's fantastic to see a price reduction, especially these days when everything is getting more expensive. I think that's all the thoughts I have on first impressions of this console. Overall, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here, even with only 12 static playbacks. The improved construction, the weight, how thin it is, the backlighting, the programming sections, the case, the price, it seems like a modern refresh of the Titan Mobile, and that's exactly what I would want it to be. Maybe I'll do a full review in the future if there are enough interesting things to talk about, so maybe subscribe for that? If you're in the United States, I would love to be the one to sell you your T3 or any other Avo product. I spent my own dollars on my Titan Mobile, and it's what I've used for years. So it's what I recommend wholeheartedly. There's contact information on our website and in the description of this video. So if you want to place an order, send me an email. If you have any other questions about the T3, please ask in the comments. I do check them regularly. And thanks for watching.